Hey, Jager here with Adventure Allen & Co. And in this video, we'll be comparing the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL versus the Big Agnes Tiger Wall UL, both new for 2025 with a new proprietary fly fabric called Hyperbead. So I prefer the Copper Spur to the Tiger Wall because despite the fact the Tiger Wall is lighter weight, Copper Spur is fully freestanding, more wind stable, and has a larger interior volume. So the main differentiator between these two tents is the pole structure. Well, they use the same DAC NFL Featherlight 8.7mm diameter aluminum poles. The Tiger Wall is a semi-freestanding design with two head-end corner poles and one center foot-end pole that requires staking out at the corners, whereas the Copper Spur has poles going to all four corners. Having those two foot-end corner poles instead of one center foot-end pole increases sturdiness, thereby increasing wind stability. They also loft the foot-end ceiling higher, increasing interior volume and thereby livability. Pole configuration is why we prefer Copper Spur. If you frequently camp on challenging surfaces or frequently encounter inclement windy weather, we definitely recommend the Copper Spur over the Tiger Wall. Check out that nice spreader bar. Color-coded ends make the poles really intuitive to set up. And here's another look at the Tiger Wall's pole structure. As you can see, it also has a spreader bar and a very steep head-end wall, which is even steeper than the Copper Spur, but the severely sloping foot-end wall decreases interior volume considerably, in addition to the aforementioned issues with having to stake it out at the foot end, which can make it more challenging to pitch on rock, sand, and man-made surfaces. Despite the weight savings, we also dislike this configuration because it's less sturdy and less wind stable. Now let's talk Hyperbead fly and floor fabric. So Big Agnes claims it to be 6% lighter, 50 to 100% stronger, and 25% more waterproof than traditional tent fabrics, probably their own, and that it's stretch resistant, meaning less sag when wet, and that the waterproofing happens at a molecular level without PFAS to make it longer lasting and more environmentally friendly. As such, we'd count Hyperbead among the top-performing non-Dyneema fly fabrics, including Nemo's Osmo polyester nylon blend, Durston's 100% polyester, and Sling Fin's double silicone 10D nylon. Now let's pop into both tents and talk features. So one of the best things about Copper Spur is that it has a large overhead vent, while Tiger Wall does not. I also enjoy the warm glow of the orange lighting from being inside. As regard to pockets, it has a large lofted foot-end mesh internal canopy pocket, two head-end side pockets, and one head-end overhead pocket. The Tiger Wall has no head-end vent other than what you can do with the vestibules. It does have white lighting and a translucent feel, an overhead foot-end pocket, and two lower head-end side pockets. Copper Spur wins out on the features comparison with better light, better ventilation, additional pockets, and the awning vestibule. Okay, so that was the Copper Spur UL2 and the Tiger Wall UL2, but when it comes time to purchase, you'll likely be choosing between other capacities and all the other versions. So that includes Copper Spur UL, UL XL, Limited, and the discontinued HVUL, as well as the Tiger Wall, UL, and Tiger Wall Platinum series. So now we'll dive into a little about each one of my thoughts on it, followed by which tent I think you should choose at each capacity gradation. So starting with Copper Spur UL, the baseline version is the least expensive Copper Spur. It is tending to be the lowest area to weight ratio version, and is really kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. None of our favorite tents are the baseline UL. Okay, so next up we've got the UL XL series of Copper Spur, which is our favorite and the statistically best tent, we think. So that's because it has the highest area per person ratio at its capacity level, and has the second highest area to weight ratio. So it's actually superior for upsizing to get extra room to spread out in than it is going up one capacity level in terms of cost and weight savings. So we highly recommend these, and our favorite tents for the 2P and 3P capacities are both the Copper Spur UL XLs. It's a great one and our #1 recommendation. So then there's the Copper Spur limited edition series, available at 2 and 3 people capacities. This one costs $50 more per tent, comes with its own footprint, and borrows the lighter, thinner, less durable hyperbead fly fabric from Tiger Wall and puts it onto Copper Spur, which saves 3 to 5 ounces. So it's like arguable and debatable whether that's worth it. It probably is, but if you're a person who tends to be hard on your gear, I would avoid that and just go with the original Copper Spur UL over the limited edition. But if you're careful with your gear, it could be a good way to save a few ounces and get a complimentary footprint. And then finally, there's the discontinued HVUL series, which was in production through 2024, but now it's on clearance and will eventually disappear from shelves entirely. Well, you can get it at 25 to 50% off. It is the best value, better than all the others. So get that one if you want to save money. Well, you still can, but it is strictly worse because it has a fly fabric that is not hyperbead and is saggier and less waterproof. All right, then there's the Tiger Wall UL, which is the baseline version of Tiger Wall, and it is lighter than all of the Copper Spurs and has a higher area to weight ratio, but at the cost of a lower area per person ratio. So it feels smaller inside, but the weight savings are more economical, and that's like kind of an interesting paradox of how to think about it. So what makes it really favorable to do is sizing up a capacity, so using the Tiger Wall 2 for 1 or 3 for 2, but we recommend against the Tiger Wall 3 for sleeping 3 people. It would just feel really cramped in there, and it's like, you know, the bare minimum of what's acceptable but not comfortable. So also worth noting, the Tiger Wall 1 specifically is our favorite one-person model, just because weight savings are absolutely critical for solo backpacking. You need everything to be as lightweight as possible, and it comes in at just 29 ounces. So that is our favorite one person. And the next lightest tent is the Tiger Wall 2, followed by some other stuff. So yeah, that's how to save weight. But the problem with Tiger Wall is, as we've discussed, it is less wind stable, smaller interior, and isn't as livable. And then rounding things out, we've got the Tiger Wall Platinum series. So this is available at 2 and 3P, and it saves weight by swapping out the 15D hyperbead fly and floor fabric for a 7D and adding, I think, $200 to the cost. So the durability just isn't there. It's too expensive. It would be a short-lived piece of gear. And if you really want to save weight and have that kind of budget, you should just buy into a Dyneema trekking pole tent. There's no reason for Tiger Wall Platinum. So we recommend against that one and just sticking to the original as a good lightweight value option. So to wrap up, we'll give you our favorite tent at each capacity level. So our favorite 1P tent is the Tiger Wall UL1, which is because it's the lightest tent in the series aside from the Platinums, which we dislike. And weight savings are absolutely critical for solo backpacking because you can't share anything and have to carry your whole kit. At the 2-person level and at the 3-person level, our favorite models are the Copper Spur UL XL, which have the highest area per person ratio and the second highest area to weight ratio of all the tents. They're better thought of as a 2.5 or 3.5 person tent and are just the most comfortable and livable to camp in for only a very small weight bump increase, 3 to 4 ounces, I think. And worth noting, if you want to size up to spread out, it's better to get a UL XL than go up a whole capacity level. So that's our favorites at each 1, 2, and 3 person. There's only 1, 4, and 1, 5. Those are both Copper Spur ULs. The Copper Spur 5 is a total dud. Don't get it. It's like really heavy and expensive. And the 4P could be okay, but with either of those, you're better off just getting a pair of UL XLs, and you're just going to be way happier and comfier and less crammed in the backcountry. So there's more about each series. So to wrap up, Both the Big Agnes Tiger Wall and Copper Spur got a fly fabric refresh that is an improvement for 2025. Between them, I prefer Copper Spur because it's fully freestanding, more interior volume, and more wind stable, despite being a little more expensive and a little heavier. Both are great tents, though, and worthy of the backcountry. Thanks for watching.